Welcome to It's Been How Long? The podcast about Cherry Hill High School East students from the late 1970s and early 80s. This is Kara Siegel. Well, I'd like to welcome in Alan Feldman to the It's Been How Long podcast studio today. Hey, Alan.
Hey, it's great being here. I'm so excited. It's really an honor and a privilege to talk about the olden days. So I'm very excited.
Well, thank you for agreeing to be on the podcast. That's great. So
Yeah,
so here we are, 43 years post graduation.
incredible.
Uh, so what are you up to these days?
So I never really wandered far from Cherry Hill. I've lived here in my house in Old Orchard for 32 years. Have two 29 and 22. I've been married to my wife for 35 years, who also graduated from East in 83.
Hmm.
And yeah, I've really stayed close to home. I've been working in the transportation business for the last probably 25 years, logistics, transportation, and yeah, that's what I do. I did some other stuff on the side, but yes, that's about it.
All right. So how do you enjoy spending your time? What do you do for fun?
For fun.
Go to
So
Eagles games, maybe?
yeah, we go to a few games. Yeah, so my wife and I have had season tickets since 1987 for the Eagles. She actually works for NFL Films,
Oh,
and has been there since 1987 as well. So yeah, we've been to a few Eagles games. We've been to a few Super Bowls and
I was saying,
whatnot.
did you get to go to their winning Super Bowl there?
I did. I
That's
did.
awesome.
Yeah, I was out there with a couple friends, and actually Jeff Present, who we graduated with, he was out there with his son, and yeah, it was an amazing experience. But yeah, other than the Eagles, my wife and I love going to see concerts. We love live music. So since my kids are done sports and we have time to ourselves, we go to a lot of concerts. And it's a lot of fun. Live music is great. It's relaxing. It's great people watching, and it's a lot of fun. So when we're not doing that, I try to get out and play golf once in a while. So
Oh, well,
yeah,
that's good.
yes. So it's busy, but it's fun, and yeah, it's would love to be able to retire and do that kind of stuff full time, but it's we have to work. So
Okay. So what did you enjoy doing back in high school? Were you a golfer? What was your
um,
things that you
so man,
enjoyed?
I hacked around. I played soccer. I really loved all the sports at East. The football team. You had friends on the football team. I had friends on the basketball team. In the spring, I hung out with Jeff President a lot, and John Newcomb, and Mike Kessler, and those Fred Pollock, and those guys. So I
That's
was
the
really
tennis team,
involved
isn't it?
in
At least
sports. What's that?
I said that's the tennis team, at least Newcomb
Yes,
and
yes,
Kessler.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and Present and Wayne Strybeck, and
Yeah.
so yeah, yeah, I really enjoyed my time playing soccer in high school.
How was our
Um,
team back then?
so my let's see, our my sophomore year, I played a little bit of varsity and a little bit of JV. We were pretty good. Junior year, we were very good. We had a really good team. We had a lot of guys that were seniors in graduated in '79 that played, and we actually won the coaches cup. We shared the trophy with Riverside, and they didn't like the fact that they tied us because we were nobodies and wouldn't walk around the field with the trophy. And then senior year, we were pretty good. We made it to the semifinals of Group 4 and lost to Tom's River. But
Um,
the memories, it's just, Paul Kaiser and Greg Jackson and Mike Montero, and he was a little bit younger, and Lenny Goldberg and those guys. It was just, it was great. My kids get tired of me talking about what a great high school experience I had and how much I loved East. And so, but yes, so that was about how I spent my time. I worked, hung out with my friends whenever I could, was really close with John Newcomb and
mm,
Mark Grzdowski, with Jeff Present, and back in the day, Alan Savitz and Mike Stein and Mike Hockman, and
yeah.
yes, it was great times.
Any other clubs or anything, or that you were
Uh,
on?
no, not
Okay.
really. No, and then I also I like to hang around. This sounds kind of weird, but I was really, really good friends with Carolyn Corby. So I
Yeah,
would go watch the gymnastics team a lot because she was my buddy, and yeah, so yeah, yeah,
that's cool.
yes.
Did you have a job back in high school?
I did. After I stopped, it's funny. Rob Thurston, I listened to his last week. After we got delivered newspapers, which wasn't a real job, I actually worked as a busboy and waiter at Woodcrest Country Club
Oh wow. Okay.
for like 3 years. Myself and Gil Gluck,
Yeah.
and I don't know if you remember Kevin McDonald,
Hmm.
who's now married to Kim Brecker. But yeah, we all worked at Woodcrest Country Club for a few years, and that was a lot of fun as well.
Is that where you developed your love of golf?
Actually, that came later.
Mm.
It was I guess when I was like 22 or 23, and uh, I was working at Billows Electric back then, and I just started playing, and I loved the sport. It's great. It's frustrating. It's agonizing, but it's really fun. I like going out, relaxing, hitting the ball. Just being out there, and wait. You don't have to worry about anything except trying to hit the damn ball in the hole. So.
That's right. So what did you do after graduation?
So after graduation, so I spent a year at the University of Maryland having a wonderful party and life experience there. And after the first year, my parents decided that maybe you need to come home. So I worked for a year. I went back to Camden County for a year, and then I was like, I just don't really want to do this. And so my dad was a partner in Billows Electric in Haddon Heights. So I actually went to work for them, and I worked there for 16 years.
Wow. Doing what?
And yeah, so I really wasn't enjoying what I was doing, and I had this love for golf, and I was working part time at a golf shop, and a management opportunity opened up, and so I left the electrical business, and I managed a Nevada Bob's golf shop
Oh yeah.
for 5 years during the Tiger Woods boom.
Oh wow.
So
Quick
it was
question. What did you
yes.
do? What did you do with the with your dad's electric business? What was your
So
job?
I basically I started at the bottom. I worked in the warehouse, I worked in shipping, I worked in receiving, I worked at the counter, I did sales, I did some other stuff. So I think they were training me to eventually take over,
Mm,
and
okay.
I just really didn't like what I was doing. And so I had a discussion with my wife, and she could tell that I wasn't really happy. And so I talked to my stepfather and I said, Dad, listen. And he said, you have to do what makes you happy. You always have to be happy with yourself when you look at yourself in the mirror every day.
Hmm.
So I was like, okay, and yes, so I left there and worked at Nevada Bob's for 5 years. The golf business crashed because how many times can people spend $500 on a set of clubs?
Yeah.
So I went to work in the mortgage business for 5 years. That kind of crashed. And then I ended up in logistics, working over in Philly for an importer exporter, doing customs stuff. And that's where I've been for the last, God, 20 years, 25 years.
Wow.
So yeah, it's crazy. But right now I work for a company called United States Cold Storage. We transport food.
Hmm.
So we've been, needless to say, with the pandemic happening and everything else, our business has been kind of crazy. But people have to eat. So we were considered essential people. So we worked every day and made sure that everybody got their ice cream and their waffles and all that stuff. And so yeah, that's what I do. I have about 5 people that work underneath me, and we set up loads and logistics for about 250 loads a week. So going all across the country, it's pretty hectic, but it's fun. For me, I'm the old man at the office, which is kind of good. Seriously, it's great. I work with a bunch of younger guys, age 22 to like 35, and the energy level is great. And it makes it's a great match for me. So yeah, so I figure the next 3 or 4 years, or until my wife tells me I can retire, that's what I'm going to be doing, and that's it. So
So was your wife your high school sweetheart?
no, actually, we didn't. We started dating. She graduated in '83. We started dating in between her junior and senior year. So my high school sweetheart wasn't sweet on me.
No.
So
So how did you and your wife meet, or was it like in classes or?
no, we so she worked at Woodcrest Swim Club
Oh, okay.
as a lifeguard, and a bunch of my friends
So can I
were
ask who is your
there.
wife?
Yes, you absolutely. Her name's Fran Silvestro.
Okay.
Her dad was on the board there. He sat up on the hill with Gil Goldberg and Dave Wynn and those guys up there. But I didn't belong there. But all my friends were lifeguards there. Eric Rose and Mike Hockman and Ira Richterman, who was a little bit younger than us, and there's other people, I'm sure. And I met Fran at a party that one of the guards was having, and we hit it off. And yeah, we've been together, 41 years. She's put up with me.
That's
So
great. That's
yeah,
great.
yes.
That's funny because I actually lived in Woodcrest and um attended Woodcrest Swim Club, but I ended up lifeguarding at Old Orchard with Robin.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
funny. That's where I live. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
but
So is there a class or a teacher at East that influenced you at all?
um, I can call. I mean, I really enjoyed that Ron Hunt. He taught social studies, history back in the day.
Mhm.
Um, uh, I remember. Well, there's memories of other classes.
Yeah.
Not that that had an influence on my life, but
Yeah.
no, I really, yeah, it's not really. There's still, like, I don't know if you remember Fred Belchikoff.
Yes, yes.
Like he's involved with the East Alumni Association, so I see him. I still see Coach Martin. You know, I don't know if he was the baseball coach, Dave
Yeah.
Martin, and taught driver's ed. So I see him because my wife and I usually go up to an East baseball game once a year, or try to do something where he's around. My son played baseball for East,
Oh,
uh,
cool.
baseball and football, my older one. And so yeah, so no, that's there really wasn't, much as far as that.
But good memories from some of your teachers.
Yes, all good memories.
Yeah.
Mrs. Clower, I mean, I had her for English. She was awesome. She liked to drink. If you go back, like, want to talk about bad things, I was in a class with Otto Krupp, for
Yeah.
geometry. So it's yeah. But
Yeah.
yeah, but honestly, nothing but good memories from East.
Hmm. Is there a standout memory that story, something
Yes,
that you can tell?
there is. So for years back in the day, the soccer team had a tradition. Whenever we played West, we would go to Ponzio's for breakfast. So we were all out at Ponzio's, and some boneheaded junior on the team had an idea and said, "Why don't we drive through the West parking lot and honk our horns?" So, and I wasn't driving then, so it was, the older guys and stuff, and they're like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah." So we all got in the cars, and there was probably about 5 cars with 20 of us, and we went through the parking lot yelling "Kill West" and everything else. And that afternoon we get into the locker room, and Coach Heisman
Yeah.
closes the door and had a few choice words for us and asked us what, bleepity bleep bleep we thought we were doing. And they're talking about canceling the game and blah 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 blah. So we got in a little bit of trouble. The next day at practice after the game, he made us run really really hard. But that is a memory. I have a lot of soccer memories. Basketball. So Greg Jackson and I a few times dressed up as the Cougars for the basketball games, which was a lot of fun. Really, a lot of fun doing that stuff.
Oh, that's
So
cool.
yeah,
Yeah, I kind of
yes,
wondered. I so that here's a question for you. How did
yes.
you get to, be our like 40th reunion go-to guy?
So it was totally by default. Obviously, we couldn't do anything in 2020,
Right.
and Carolyn and Greg Deegan were trying to do something, and I'm local, so
Yeah.
I was like, I'll take the bulls by the horn, and
Yeah.
so I just did it because it's a horrible thing to say, but some of our classmates have passed on,
Mm,
and we're not getting any younger.
right.
And we need to do these things. We're not, we're adults, and we all have mutual things in our lives, and it just, I thought it was a great idea. So yeah,
Yeah.
I was really worried at the beginning because the response was like 30. At first everybody was all gung-ho, and then I like the 2 weeks, a week before I had to give the girl a count, I had like 30 people, and I'm like, I'm just going to cancel this. And I put something out, and then a bunch of people paid. So we ended up getting up to 55, and we ended up with about 70 there.
That's
So,
great.
and honestly, like, it was great. Everybody looked awesome, and it was just so much fun to see people that you haven't seen in 40 years. And,
Yeah.
we're lucky now we have Facebook, so we can keep in touch, but not in a like, hey, it's great to see you, and and a hug and, whatever, and just sit and BS for a while and stuff like that. And I'm hoping that we can pull off a 45th,
Okay.
and get more people, because we're going to be 65.
Yeah.
Like that's old. I remember looking at a 60-year-old person. I'm like, oh my God, that person's really old. And so yeah, but
Okay, so I'm going to put in a plug. Don't do it Thanksgiving weekend. Don't do
no,
it Thanksgiving weekend.
it seems you know what, honestly, Karen, like Thanksgiving weekend, people have families and they don't want to come. A lot,
It's the
most
worst
people
time of
don't
year to
live in
travel.
Cherry and they don't want to travel. So it
Yeah.
seems like we're gonna I'm shooting for the spring,
Okay.
maybe like April or May after Easter and Passover and all that stuff. So
Hmm.
you know,
But before
I'll
all the graduations, though, right?
and
Everybody,
before
yeah.
all the graduations and that stuff. So yeah, but yeah, so I like organizing stuff. Something else that I did in my spare time back in the day is so I was involved in soccer and my kids played. I was president of the local soccer club for 17 years.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So I did that while my kids were playing, and I was also, while I was on the soccer board, I was also on the little league board. So I was, for about 10 years, I was always at the fields. Like
Yeah.
if you couldn't find me, that's where I was. So
You're
Fran
home away
always,
from home.
yeah, she always knew where I was because I got involved. We just there's I I don't know if you volunteered or your kids played sports or whatever, but it's
Coach
hard
here.
to get people. Yeah, okay. So it's hard to get people to volunteer. It's hard to get people to coach. Nowadays, everybody just wants to pay somebody to do it. And I dove head first right in there. Thank goodness my wife was just so supportive. She was actually on the board with me for a long time. So yeah, we were very involved and it was great. And I probably would have kept doing it when my younger son, I'm gonna say, retired from travel soccer. um but the parents are just, you know the expectations of athletic scholarships and everything else are just, it's crazy. And when you try to explain that to people, like, yeah, they give scholarships but they don't give full scholarships. A
Right.
coach has X amount of scholarships and he's got to split that up based on need through his players, like, so. And people, of course, we all think our kids are the greatest things, they're the sun, everything else, but it's hard to explain to parents that. And so yes. But yeah, but I do love organizing things. The reunion, I hope that this time we have enough advance notice and people can come, because I think the people that were there really really had a good time. And it's funny because Reggie was talking about like the jocks and the freaks and the nerds and everything else. And it was great because everybody was just together and nobody cared who they were. And it was great seeing Denise Maggio and Sharon Linden and like all these people. Judy Katz was there, and Bernie Donaldson and Jeff Woolley, Eric Rappel, Bill Kaiser, Bill
It was a,
Guerrero.
yeah,
It,
it's a
it,
good turnout. Yeah.
it was, Lou Schaffer was there with his wife and Brad Saltoff, and it was really a lot of fun, and it was fun to catch up.
Yeah.
We weren't friends in high school, but that doesn't mean like we don't like each other or respect each other. We had 850 kids in our class.
Oh, yeah.
It's crazy. There's
Yeah.
no way you could possibly be friends with everybody
No,
or know
right.
everybody.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Well, that's great. So, Alan, have you had an opportunity to do any travel aside from Eagles Super Bowls?
Um, yes, but unfortunately, most of it's been in the United States. Let's see.
We have a great state
Uh,
to visit, country
yes,
to visit.
we do. We were just out in Sedona
Oh,
in
nice.
actually Scottsdale and Sedona in March, and it was
Golfing.
just it was no. Well, we golfed for a day. We actually had a friend's son's wedding out there. So we made it a week long trip, and so we spent like 3 days in Scottsdale, and then 4 in Sedona, and did the Grand Canyon, and it was just amazing. Like, we live here on the East Coast, and you kind of take that stuff for granted. It's incredible. Let's see, it was 20. When did I go? 2019. 2019, I went out to Colorado and met Mark Drozdowski out there. He actually lives in Pasadena, and we spent like 4 days out in. We were in Boulder for 2 days, and he's been out there a bunch of times. And he took me up in the mountains, and up to Pikes Peak and Rocky Mountain State Park, and it was just like it's incredible. Like you see these pictures, and it doesn't do it justice. So yeah, we were out. I was out in Colorado. Went out to LA. We were down in Charleston last year for a week. So yeah, we get around, but nothing really major. We were in Chicago this summer for a couple of concerts, which
Oh,
was
that's
really a lot
great.
of fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Chicago's a great town.
That was the first time I was ever there, and my wife and I, we want to go back. We had so much fun. It was
Not in the
just
winter.
awesome.
Don't go back in
No,
the
not in the
winter.
winter. No, no. We were there. It was beautiful. It was like 85 degrees, and we saw a couple concerts at Wrigley Field, and it was like 65 at night. It was beautiful. It was what a great town. A lot of fun. The people were awesome, and we did all the touristy things, and ate like crap. Went to Giordano's and Portillo's, and we went to the Billy Goat Tavern, which, if you remember back in the day from Saturday Night Live, the cheeseburger.
Yes, yes, yes,
We went
yes.
we went to that little bar slash restaurant, and yeah, but no, it was a great time. So yeah, we want to try to travel some more, and do some things now that we're not as occupied with our youth sports and everything else. So
Well, that's
yeah,
good. So,
yes,
so you're still in touch with folks from
yes.
school. Anybody in particular you lost track of?
Um, wow, I'm trying to think. I think, now with social media, if there's
Mhm.
anybody you really want to find, you can. There's people that I would like to see more.
Yeah.
But like Jeff Present is him and I have been friends since our bar mitzvah classes together. Like he lives in Marlton. We golf together every weekend. So I see him all the time. I talk to Mark Drozdowski. We text back and forth like all the time. Um, but and then for my group, John Newcomb, unfortunately,
Mm,
was shot in '96.
yeah.
There's a funny story. The side note, not funny, but
Mm.
so my son is in class, and there's a Newcomb there, and next thing I know, it's John's brother
Ah.
and John's nephew that at the time I swear looked like John. I coached him, and with John's brother up until our kids graduated high school in 2019. So that was really like a weird, kind of thing, you know. But yeah, I wish I could see Carolyn Corby more.
Hmm.
Um, that little bugger is just so busy all the time. We were actually down the shore for a week, and we were trying to hook up with her. We were like 5 blocks from her, and she's running around like she always does. And Yeah, so but yeah, no, that's I after my 1 year at Maryland, I hung out with Lisa Weinstein a lot.
Did you ever see?
Moved
Wasn't that where I think that's where Robin Garland Bear went?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So we and Rob Thurston was talking about Just Ice Cream. That's we used to go there for ice cream like every night. Because she was going to like Catherine Gibbs secretarial school. So but I miss hanging out with her. Yeah, I mean we I made other friends. We have a really close friend group that I made through my older son's baseball way back in the day. Our little league all-star team, it's like 7 or 8. We have 7 couples. We get together once or twice a month and hang out and stuff like that. And there's a couple of East graduates in there. Ben Kramer, who graduated in '79, and Tony Della Vecchia graduated in '83, and so yeah, but yeah, no, it's crazy.
So, is there anything you wish classmates knew about you back in the day, or you want to tell them about you now?
It's so believe it or not, I wasn't as obnoxious as I seemed back in the day. I think there was a lot of immaturity and insecurity going on back then. So again, just like a couple of other people have said, if I've ever offended anybody, believe me, there's no harm intended, and I apologize profusely. And so no, I again, like, I just loved my time there at East, and I it's just crazy memories all the time.
And have you been back in the building? And if so,
Oh
when,
yes,
why,
I've
and
been.
how did you feel? So
So
your kids went to East.
yes, yeah,
Okay.
my oldest graduated in 2012. So I was back with him. It's weird. It seemed very small. Unfortunately, the buildings are in pretty bad shape.
Mm,
Uh, the they haven't used the tax dollars in a very intelligent way. They finally passed a bond referendum last year, and they're finally doing some work to the infrastructures of the schools.
okay.
So, I love East. I go back every year for a basketball game or something. It's kind of depressing.
Mm.
Um, but it's where we went, and it's ours. So I was in a lot. My son played football and baseball, my older one. My wife and I, of course, were involved in both booster clubs for that. My younger son played soccer. So you know what, my wife was a little bit involved. I tried to stay out of it just because I had so much other stuff going on with my volunteer stuff. But yeah, that's yes, I was there many times. And I don't know, they're actually building a stadium at East, a football
Football stadium.
stadium.
Okay.
They've put a turf field back there with some bleachers about 8 years ago, and so they're finally, starting in October, they're going to build the stadium with lights and new bleachers, and redo some locker rooms and stuff like that. So hopefully that gets done soon, and make some improvements.
Okay. Uh, so we're back in 1980, and you're looking out 40 years because every 18-year-old looks out 40 years. Is this where you saw yourself?
um so let's see. Yeah, I saw myself as a dad. I always wanted to have kids. I, I, you know, yes and no. I would love to be retired. Had I made some other decisions in my life, but I didn't. So, I'm very happy with my life. I love my wife. Fortunately, unfortunately, both of my kids are home. So I love my kids. I love my two dogs. But yeah, yeah, I saw myself living down the shore at
Okay.
this age, which, someday maybe, but I love the beach. The ocean smell, it's just so relaxing, and so yeah, that's where I saw myself, but here I am in Cherry Hill.
If you could have chosen a dream job, and I'm borrowing this question from Robin Garland Bear, what would it have been? If you could have pictured something, what would it have been?
So what I really should have done, because I loved coaching and I love teaching, is I should have not goofed off in college and become a teacher. That's what I really like. I missed my calling in life, and so I would have done that, and I would have coached, and I'd be retired by now, working a part-time job somewhere. But yeah, but it is what it is.
Okay. So, what's your best piece of advice you would have given your 18-year-old self, or maybe it's the advice you gave your 18-year-old kids?
Well, my kids never listened, but no.
And
So
we did, and we
yeah,
did.
yeah, yes. No, I didn't. So what I learned is, with college, if you're not sure of what you're going to do in your life, you should go to community college for the first 2 years, get your credits, keep your debt down, and then figure out in those 2 years what you want to do and where you want to move forward from there.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I went to college and I really didn't know what I wanted to do, and I went and I goofed off, and I didn't have a goal set for myself like other people did. So yeah, I that would have been my, like, looking back, and I told my older one knew he wanted to go away, and everything else. He knew what he wanted to do from the time he was 16 years old. And so that's different. But if you're not sure, go to community college.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
My oldest did that, and
yeah,
that was a good plan. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, it is. You don't have yourself. Nowadays college is ridiculous, and
It is.
it's crazy.
Yeah.
But so
So we're calling this the Fast and Furious finish. So,
okay.
did you have a favorite TV show, or a favorite movie, or a favorite book back from high school?
So again, like, Reggie Wu. My parents had the same Furious
As long
cars.
as we're talking about Reggie, I just want to shout out to got his
Oh,
t-shirt
look at
on.
that, the Heaven's Edge shirt.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So my parents didn't let us watch TV from Sunday night at 9 p.m. until Friday night. The
So
only
after Disney, right? After the wonderful world of
after
Disney.
exactly, or whatever, yes, whatever
Yeah.
was on. The only exception was the first half of Monday Night Football. So, but as far as a TV show, I would have to say MASH.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just, I get laughed at here because we have this goofy channel, Me TV, and
Hmm.
MASH is on every night, and I love that show, and
Yeah.
so I'll watch it. Um, but yes, that was a
That was your
movie.
favorite.
Yeah, movie. Um, Believe it or not, there was a movie back in the day called Chariots of Fire,
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure.
which was a really, like, that just got me for some reason. But yeah, that, and of course you had Jaws in those movies, but yeah, for some reason that was just, that stuck with me.
Yeah.
So
How about your favorite musical group, or artist, or genre?
so back in
Is it the Dead, since I'm looking at your shirt?
So, well, yes, now, yes. Back in the day, back in high school, I really liked I'm gonna call it hard rock, but not metal rock, like Led Zeppelin and The Who. And as I got into like my late teens and early 20s, I started listening to a lot of punk rock,
Hmm.
the Sex Pistols, the Dead Kennedys, the Cure. Well, the Cure was a little later. The Clash was one of my favorites. So I went through that phase, and then I started hanging out with my wife in the '80s, and her brothers were really into the Dead
Hmm.
and the Grateful Dead, and I really didn't like them. They were too slow for me, and everything else, and so I started listening to them a little bit, and I was like, wow, you know what? They're really not bad. And then we started going to concerts and more concerts and more concerts. So yeah, the Dead and their remnants, and they've been a mainstay in what's going on, now. Um and But we've we have a lot of there's a lot of these jam bands now,
Hmm.
that a lot of the younger people listen to, Fish and Goose, and there's a band called Dogs in a Pile and Twiddle. And so we've been going to a couple of these festivals, and we see all these bands all the time that we like. So we've been doing that, yeah, and it's a lot of fun. So, but I'll listen to anything. Last week we went to see Squeeze and the Psychedelic Furs. It was just we saw them a couple of years ago. They were really good. We saw Frampton over the summer.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and he was awesome. With all the stuff he's going through neurologically and stuff, for him to even be able to play was just amazing. But yeah, no, I will listen to a lot of different music. So
Oh,
yes,
right.
yeah.
Did you have a favorite place to eat or hang out back in high school?
Um,
If so, is it still there?
it, so Papagallo's was our ice cream slash pizza place. That's not there anymore. I went to Vito's a lot, but I mean, Vito's opened up in like 79 or
Hmm.
80. Um, we used to spend a lot of time at 7-Eleven
Yeah.
with Slurpees and frozen pretzels,
Oh,
microwave pretzels. But yeah, no, there wasn't really any favorite place back in the day. I mean, I don't know if you remember, there was a hoagie place called Wombo's at the Circle, right next to Green's Farmers Market. They
oh,
had the
okay.
best cheesesteaks there. And then of
Oh,
course
okay.
Big John's,
Yeah.
that's not there anymore.
No.
And yeah,
Yeah.
it's yeah. So Vito's is like one of the only places that's still around that was, when we were
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, it's still there. All right. So this is the big you remember that
Let's
guy?
see. Yeah, he had some hair back then.
Let's see. There you
Now
go.
just be mellow. Yeah, well, that used to work. When you're dealing with parents for 16 years, sometimes you can't be mellow anymore. No, yeah, that's funny. That's funny.
All right. So none of your activities sounded like it involved the yearbook because as you know, if you've been listening, I'm still in my quest to figure out why we have a Western theme.
I don't understand that either. I mean, I don't. It's not like country was a big thing back then, or anything like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because
Okay.
it's funny, I was looking at my wife's yearbooks, and they like have, one of them has the roller coaster at Great Adventure, and
Oh.
the other one has, like different pictures and stuff like that. And I'm looking at ours, and it's like this plain brown wood, like it's like a piece of wood
Wood.
cover. Yeah, but yeah. Uh,
All right. Lastly, is there anything you want to tell someone or tell everyone or say to everybody here as we finish?
A couple things. First, a lot of people have been joining the Cherry Class of 1980 40th
Yeah.
reunion Facebook group, which is awesome. Like, tell your friends about it. You know, this is a way for us to connect as we get older and find out we weren't as weird in high school as everybody thought we were, and all that kind of stuff. And you know, really, I would love to see more people at the reunion. We're going to have it in the we try to have it in the spring.
Of
We're going to try to
2025. 2020 of
20
2025.
20 wow, 2025. Yes, in 2025. And you know, it's just would be great to see as many people as possible, whether you like me or not, or there's probably someone there that you're going to like. So you know, like I said, we lost a lot of you know, a lot of class members over the years. You know,
Yeah.
Rob Skinner last year, and Nuke and Gil Gluck, and I'm sure there's so many. There's
Yeah.
unfortunately others, and you know, just let's you know, try to pull together.
Yeah.
850.
Yeah.
That you know, if we could get 100 or 150, that would be awesome.
That would be. That would be great. That would be great. Well, Alan, I can't thank you enough, and I can't thank you enough for monitoring that Facebook page,
Oh,
and
it's my pleasure.
and being behind the push for a reunion. I think it's great, and I think everybody's glad you're doing that.
Oh, I love
Um,
it. I think what you're doing is even more special because it's kind of a behind the scenes look at everybody, and you know, hearing, you know, everybody, you know, Eddie Denkin was talking about hockey stuff, and
yeah,
Rob Thurston with the swim team. Like, all these things are
yeah,
just, you know, so cool, and it's great to find out more about people.
yeah, yeah. No, it
So
is.
you need to keep going. Keep
Yeah.
up the good work.
Well, thank you. Thank you. You are actually number 22.
Wow, that's
Um,
awesome.
and I'm going to try to continue to publish one a week. And so, that's I'm just hoping that people will jump on and volunteer, because I don't know everybody.
Right,
And so if people, are willing to reach out, or I'll keep reaching out to anybody on that list. That's kind of where I'm drawing from, is using
right.
that list.
Yep.
So as long as people want to keep talking to me, I'll keep doing the podcast.
Who would not want to talk to you, Kara? You were always so nice and pleasant to
Well, thank you.
everybody. So,
Appreciate it. Thank
yep.
you. Well, thanks, Alan. And you have a
Thank
great
you.
fall, and we'll be in touch, I hope.
Yep. Definitely.
Okay.
Go Birds
Yeah, for sure. And Phillies.
and Phillies.
Yeah.
Yes. So,
Okay.
all
Take
right.
care.
See.
Thanks for joining me on It's Been How Long? The podcast about Cherry Hill High School East students from the late 1970s and the early 80s. A shout out to my cousin Brad Corbett, whose podcast We Weren't Friends in High School inspired me to do this podcast, and whose advice and encouragement have been so helpful. Thanks also to my husband, Randy Cockdale, who read all the fine print on the podcast hosting website so I wouldn't have to. And thanks to Jeff Lyons, content consultant and guinea pig, and to Deborah Smead, also content consultant. And thank you to all our classmates who are listening in. See you next week.